Comment below.
Comment below. Subscribe. Like. And if you want to hear a Bradley and Caitlyn podcast coming soon, it's not coming soon, but if you want one, maybe that'll happen.
Yeah. Give us a good
Probably
title.
Not. Give us a good title. Bradley and Caitlyn podcast.
Oh.
Is that not?
Oh, sorry.
That didn't have enough ring to it?
That was good.
No, it's cool. Don't like my ideas. This is first fight.
Ooh.
How is this all hitting you?
I think it's obviously become a lot progressively worse than I thought that it was initially started out to be. Where at first I thought it was more like the flu and people were just going to get better and it would be okay. And then we started getting news of other countries shutting everything down, and then slowly our world started to be really affected by what was going on. Mainly whenever I got the phone call on Friday, the Friday before all the schools were closed, that was whenever reality set in of this is more serious than I thought that it would have ever gotten.
Yeah, I don't know exactly when it set in for me, but it's like the seriousness that I was kind of surprised to see, but also it's like one of those things of like I remember talking to my mom on the phone and I was like, I'll be fine. It's just gonna like be back to normal, all that stuff. It's gonna be business as usual type thing. And because we have that trip to Vegas and then the trip to the beach, and I just felt like, oh, that's gonna be totally fine. But then it's like, oh no, it's not. And then all of a sudden there was like the rush of like all of these things, like a rush of the what ifs. Like I think for me, I've been going like worst case scenario for everything.
Mm-hmm.
Which I don't know if it's healthy or not, but it's like trying to be prepared, but also not trying to be the freak out people that like hoard everything. Yeah, like I feel like I kept asking you like, hey, are we good with food? I don't want to freak out, but are we good?
Yeah.
And you're like, yeah, we're good. I'm like, are you sure?
Yeah. I think I was a little bit annoyed, like I mentioned when I said that phone call that I received on that Friday of they're closing the whole school. Like, who does that, or why do we have to do that? Because I had my own schedule and my own things to do, and I can't imagine what it's like for full-time parents, even trying to work and keep their family going and all of that goes along with it. But fortunately, I don't have to work right now, which is nice. But it was still an inconvenience for the boys to be at home. And I feel like lately I've been trying to listen to a lot of podcasts that are about the mind and about the way you think about things and how you can change the way you think about things. So even though it seemed like an inconvenience for the boys to be at home, I've really tried to work on making it be a blessing because we haven't had them.
Yeah.
We've only had them for a year, and to be able to spend so much concentrated time with them focusing on academics alone has been kind of cool, because now I can know what their strong subjects are and what they need help with, and that has been kind of cool. I've gotten to know their personalities a little bit better.
Trying to figure out how to teach them in a way. I mean, that's had to have been hard to be like moved from a mom to now teacher. And I know that there's like homeschool moms all over the place that are like, welcome everybody else in the world to our world. But for us, it's been an adjustment, not only going from 0 to 3 boys in 0 time, but also going into now being homeschool and then not having any like certainty. I wonder how many like families are going to go through that decision of, hey, this wasn't too bad. Or maybe the parents that are like, I think Teacher Appreciation Day is going to be huge this year.
Sure.
They're going to be like, thank you, teachers, for all that you do.
Yeah. I think another hard thing just with the school aspect of it is, since we do have the 3 of them and they're all different ages, of course, and so they're all different grades, that's the hardest part, is because Grayson will be working on something and he'll almost get it without any help.
Mm-hmm.
And then Cooper is working on something and he's getting a lot better at reading, but still needs help. And just at following directions and learning that those are helpful if you read them. So he still needs quite a bit of help. And then Sully, he can't read at all. He knows his numbers pretty well and his colors. So he's been coloring a lot and trying to stay in the lines. But they're just all at different stages in their schooling. So, and they're all like very hands-on stages. It's not like, your 5th grader or middle schooler that's go do your work and they know what to do.
Yeah.
They're very much like actively learning. Like you need to stay with them a lot. But it is what it is.
So what are like 3 things that you've learned through this whole like process of being a teacher?
Dad, can I wear underwear for a minute?
What, buddy?
Yeah, Cooper.
Yeah, definitely wear underwear. Just butt naked. Just butt naked on the porch. Can I wear underwear? I think that was underwear instead of a pull-up, but
yeah. So I think that's funny. That's so Cooper.
Mm-hmm.
I think the 3 things I've learned is to have a lot of patience, because if you get frustrated, then there's no coming back from that, because not only are you frustrated now, but more than likely your child or your spouse or whoever you're living with is frustrated too. The second thing is to probably not freak out, because that will, just like being frustration, like if you freak out about everything, that's going to carry over into your kids' lives and how they see things, and your spouse the same thing. Kind of like just be calm, be still, and know that the people in charge are doing what they're supposed to do and they're making the best decisions for you. And then the third thing would be to be prepared.
Mm-hmm.
And that one I feel like we were pretty good at. We had pretty good stock on food already. Like I didn't feel like we had to go out and buy a ton of stuff.
Well, I think your biggest thing that was like helpful was that you meal plan already. Mm-hmm. And now like we got into this whole situation that like we're planning out all these meals and you're like planning out grocery lists and all of these different things.
So what are 3 things you've learned?
I think one of the biggest things was like trying to make sure our finances are in order. Like that's been something that, through all this is like trying to have an emergency fund and savings, and making sure that like, I don't know, there's times that you're like, oh, what are emergency funds for? But like our house burns down, or like, drastic things, but like a virus spreading across the world was not something that I necessarily had like on the list of like the possibilities. And so, but I'm like thankful that I've had that, but also like trying to take stock of like what, our financial commitments are, but also, like our upcoming bills, and trying to plan out like our finances. So I think like making sure that I'm not just spending time on our finances in the moment, but also like ahead of time. I think another thing that I've learned is, or not learned, but I'm learning is to try to be patient, because I'm not patient. But this whole thing is like literally like a week to week thing. And we work at a summer camp program, a summer camp, property, and our whole future and way of life is kind of in jeopardy, because if we don't have summer camps, then that's going to drastically change our financial world as far as our camp goes. And trying not to freak out, but be patient and think about kind of that next step, that next thing that we need to do, and not being so worried about what's coming down from the future, because right now there's a lot of uncertainty, and if you're not careful, then you're going to be so wound up and so worried about what's possibly coming, and not focusing on what's here. And that's my family and you, and trying to be intentional with the time that we spend together, or the things that we do together. I think that's where this whole garden thing is like, in the chaos of everything, let's plant something and try to have some semblance of a normal life. But I feel like it's kind of drawn us together. I don't know. I think my third thing is like not being overly complacent with what we have, because I think that complacency is a big problem that a lot of people have, of just getting used to the status quo and everything just being the same old, and oh, my paycheck's gonna hit at this time, and especially being on salary, it's just kind of, you get to normal, whereas we get to a routine. I mean, and even like spending time with your family is like, I think that this could have been a way worse global epidemic that like we couldn't have spent time together for some reason, but in a way it's forcing us all to be together. And I think that's something that I don't know, it's a lot of things to think through, but it's also a lot of being thankful for what you have and not being not complacent. What's not complacent?
I don't know. Incomplacent?
Discomplacent?
I'm sure there's a good
I don't
word.
know, your 3 were way better than my 3.
John probably has a word for that.
John's got a word for everything. I won't put that in the video.
That's good.
So moving forward,
Yes.
we're not out of this thing yet. And so far we're doing homeschool. We're planting a garden. I'm working still because jobs still go on, trying to go on. What are you trying to do to keep moving forward every day and be positive?
Well, I think for me, I just take everything one day at a time. And I really do like spending time with the boys. And I think it's interesting learning the things that they're learning so that I can really be invested in conversations that we have later on in the day.
Mm-hmm.
And I also realize that I don't really like driving, as much as I was before. Like, it would take me an hour and a half whenever I would leave home, when I would take Grayson and Cooper to school. And then I would get back an hour and a half later after I dropped Sully off from school. And then I would be at home or wherever for about 2 to 3 hours. And then I'd drive back to get Sully, drive home, be at home for maybe 2.5 hours, then drive back to get Grayson and Cooper, and then drive home. And so my day is just not as choppy as it was before. And I really enjoy that because I can find, I really do like being at home. So that's not a big struggle of mine to be forced to stay inside or just at home, because our home is in a unique place. We can still get outside and go and play and do things and do fun things. But going forward, I want to make sure that we are still staying in touch with our families, because I know that's a big part of our family, of our 5 family, just to stay in touch with grandparents and great grandparents, because some of those are still alive. And I don't know, just to still try to be in touch with friends as much as we can with social distancing.
I know. I
don't know.
I feel like this thing all happened, and I'm like, I want to talk to people. Like, I'm naturally extroverted anyways, and I felt like this whole thing happened, and it was like, oh, I need to like talk to these people because I'm gonna be not able to talk to them for some reason. But
but you haven't talked to them in a while. Anyway.
Yeah, you haven't talked to people in a while, but I think it's huge to look at this situation, and like, I think it's pointing out a lot of the weaknesses in our families. Like, if I feel like if all the families out there really evaluated their like strengths and weaknesses, we've been doing that as a staff at Woodlands, and evaluated your strengths and weaknesses as a family, through this period of time, I feel like it's exposing a lot of weaknesses. You're now having to spend time with kids that you haven't always had to spend time with. I mean, yes, we've had summer periods of time, but it's a big period of time that it's exposing these things. And so I think, for me personally, I want to work on our marriage, but also our like family, because I feel like that can be something that we can just kind of skip by,
And I think I'm moving forward with things. Like, I don't think that we're out of it yet.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I think that there's still a lot to happen and decisions that are going to be made that will continue to affect our lives for a while down the road. And so I'm trying not to like have a going back to school party in my mind earlier than I should until it's, this date. And then, who's to say that they could go back to school for a day and then be like, oh, this was a terrible idea.
Yeah.
We're not doing that. So I don't want to, write that off too soon and like think, okay, well, after spring break, they'll be back in school.
Yeah.
And then I can get back to my normal life and the world can continue to move on like normal, because you don't know when that's going to be. No,
I think, a saying that we've always had, and if you're a camp person, then this is the spirit of expectation is not our friend. And it isn't our friend. That spirit of expectation that we might have on what could happen and what might happen. I think that what you said is like taking each day and just like trying to get better. And I think that's something that like I've wanted to do through like making some of these videos and doing things, here at camp is like, I just want to do every day and I want to make myself better, but also make our family better and continue to like grow. So I don't know. It's going to be interesting to see what happens. 'Cause right now it's like uncertainty, but I don't know. For me, it's like, what might happen? Who knows?
Yeah. I think it's also made me value time a lot more too. Like, I see a lot of people posting on social media of how bored they are and how they have nothing to do, or how they're still getting together with people, which I don't really think is the right thing to do at this point in our world. But to value the time that we have been given, with the people that we're with our family. And my time has actually kind of gone away now that I am doing the homeschool thing. So I am not bored. There's a lot more going on in my world than not. But to not be annoyed with it, like to just take it as it is and like be okay with it.
Yeah.
And you can't change it. You just got to move on and keep going.